wherever you go to download your music. Right now, we're going to be taking a legal perspective to the show. It is Thursday after all, and we look at understanding the labor laws around WhatsApp use for work purposes. So we know that WhatsApp has become a convenience for workplace communication. A lot of South Africans are on the social app for professional and personal reasons. And even though the platform has a rather casual nature to it, it can lead to significant legal and professional risks. And we thought we would ask Advocate Titus Wessels, who's the managing director at Strata-g Labor Solutions, to walk us through around what some of those potential risk and pitfalls might be around WhatsApp. Good afternoon to you, Titus. How are you doing?
Bridget, good afternoon to the listeners and compliments of the new year.
Thank you for making the time for us in this new year. We appreciate it very much. Let's look at, the potential risks, perhaps, and consequences of using WhatsApp for work purposes in South Africa. It is very much a convenient communication social tool that's used by a lot of folks. And I think a lot of people forget that it might hold some risk or there might be some burden of responsibility when using such tools.
Yeah, Bridget, I think you're quite right when you say, WhatsApp has grown to become almost an indispensable tool in the lives of everyone. And even in the workplace, we find that employers have utilized WhatsApp as an easy means to carry over instructions or share information to their employees. And what often happens is that employees, be it their personal devices and their personal contact details, utilize WhatsApp as a means to engage with clients, suppliers, members of the public, etc. And in so doing, we often forget that when we express our personal views on WhatsApp, either on our statuses, or we start engaging in controversial topics, it has the potential to interfere with the working environment, which means that employees could be potentially at risk of disciplinary action.
And really, it's something that we don't consider, right? Because depending on also how you approach WhatsApp, I know there seems to be two schools of thoughts. There are those that say WhatsApp is a professional tool for professional purposes and professional communication, and so they have really strict parameters and boundaries as to how they utilize it, how it's accessed. And then there are those who use it very much socially, even when engaging in professional communication.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We have to understand, and it's very unfortunate, not everybody on the ground is always familiar with all the laws and the intricacies that surround our day-to-day lives. We've got legislation that deals with cybercrime, which specifically states that if people utilize WhatsApp, be it for social, business reasons, but you are threatening violence as an example, you could be potentially committing a crime. There's other legislation, if we look at the Protection of Personal Information Act, that also deals with the concept behind, once you start engaging in a WhatsApp group, it no longer becomes a personal dialogue that you're having with some, like your mother as an example, but you're now engaging on a more public platform. And then the things that you start saying and expressing on those platforms can and will most likely be used against you if they become derogatory, if it's false or misleading information, or if you are using it as a means to kind of badmouth your superiors.
Mm. One of the things I've noticed, Titus, is you mentioned when we talk around the different labor laws and legislation that govern the use of platforms like WhatsApp, for instance. Cyber laws, are, as you've pointed out, but also POPIA, on the other hand, it doesn't seem to be respected when it comes to WhatsApp conversations. Blink and all of us can just see how on a weekly basis someone will ask you oh, I'm trying to get a hold of Titus Vessels, and you quickly just pop them their WhatsApp number without even any consideration that you are, in fact, breaking some South African laws.
Yeah, you see, and those are the realities that we face, and it's because sometimes the laws are written in a manner that serves to protect our interests and safeguard us. But often, when it comes to the practical applications of certain provisions of legislation, we find that it doesn't quite really meet the day-to-day runnings. But that is also why it becomes so important, especially for employers, where they either provide employees with company phones and a corporate number for WhatsApp use, or even where employees are utilizing their personal phones, to develop clear guidelines for employees as to what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, so that people know that when I am confronted with a situation where somebody is asking for certain details or information, what is can I do that? Can I not do it? What is acceptable? What is the process that should be followed in those circumstances? Because it's truly only once we really know and understand what is expected of us that we can act in accordance with it. Otherwise, people will carry on until one point where somebody is in trouble, and then it becomes a big problem.
Is there a distinction perhaps that's drawn between communicating and how I communicate when I'm using my personal devices, even if I'm having professional communication with client or colleagues, versus how I communicate when I'm using company issued devices?
Look, my personal view is always that regardless of what device you are using, when you are engaging in any work-related matter, then you should always be acting in the utmost professional manner. Because what we need to know and understand is that as employees of any organization, we have a fundamental duty to always ensure that we're acting in the best interests of our employers and that we are also acting in a manner that will safeguard our employers' good names and reputation. So if we start becoming emotional in conversations and start engaging in a more relaxed manner, it does have the potential to come across different to the person on the other side of that device. So when you are utilizing tools, and this is not only just for WhatsApp, it could be any other social media platform, is to always keep in mind that when it is business related, that you act accordingly and keep it professional as far as possible, and that you do not, start engaging in behavior that could be otherwise unwanted or detrimental to the business and yourself at the end of the day. In most cases, employers are prohibited from interfering with the personal affairs of their employees' lives. But when the social media communication directly starts relating to the work and has the potential to affect the employer, then we need to be mindful of our conduct and behavior.
Yeah, we are talking to Titus Vessels around the use of private messaging platforms like WhatsApp, specifically for professional use, and perhaps how careless and inconsiderate we can be around our online behavior and how some of our actions could have severe consequences. And speaking of consequences, let's talk a little bit about the criteria perhaps that employers must then meet in order to justify some kind of action or dismissal for WhatsApp misconduct.
To any form of disciplinary action, be it dismissal or be it any sanction or disciplinary measures short of dismissal, there's two requirements that employers always need to comply with. Firstly, they need to ensure whatever action they are taking is in accordance with a fair procedure. And that normally implies that before an employer makes a decision on what sanction they want to impose, they need to afford the employee an opportunity to be heard. You cannot make a decision without first giving someone the opportunity to defend themselves or to explain their conduct or behavior, because there could be a variety of factors that potentially mitigate the circumstances. So that's number one. It's always crucial, especially when an employer is contemplating the possibility of dismissal. Those formalities become more stringent in as far as an employee being given reasonable time to prepare for a hearing. There must be a hearing. An independent person should preside over it, etc. So there's those kind of formalities. And so that's the procedural aspect. Then we have the substantive aspect, which means the decision that the employer takes needs to be for a fair reason. We call that substantive fairness. So there we normally look at, was there a rule? Was the employee aware of that rule? Did the employee transgress the rule? If the employee did, is the rule reasonable and valid? Is that rule being consistently applied? And would dismissal or any other sanction